What's up, everyone? Back for another beer review, and today is another installment of Macro Monday here on the channel, where I review a beer from a macro brewery or a macro-esque beer from a craft brewery. And the beer I'm reviewing today once again comes from the Cuauhtémoc Moctezuma Brewery, and they are out of Monterrey, Mexico, and this is their Carta Blanca. So this is a Mexican lager that comes in at 4.1% alcohol by volume. No IBUs listed in time of review. I don't know exactly how old this bottle is, but it does have a best by date of December 2024. We're many months away from that date. So according to the brewery, we should be more than good to go. So full disclosure, I have never had this beer before. And if I'm being honest with you, I've only seen it a couple times when I go to the beer store, although I'm not really looking for it. So, you know, it could be there. I just have never really had my eye on it. And then recently I saw a single of it and I was like, you know what? I'm going to give it a go. And then I realized it's from the Cuauhtémoc Moctezuma Brewery, which I believe they're owned by Heineken Mexico. A lot of other Mexican lagers underneath the brand. And I want to see how it kind of stacks up to a lot of the other Mexican lagers that I've reviewed on the channel. So here we are. So I don't know what to expect from this one. I really have no idea. So I'm looking forward to it though, because I've come to really enjoy these Mexican lagers. And whenever I get that beer style tournament off the ground where I do like a blind head-to-head battle tournament style, I will hopefully be able to include this one. We'll see. At some point, I'm going to get it off the ground. I did buy a new camera, which I hope to be using in the next month or two, and some other goodies and whatnot. We're going to get that off the ground. If we do, though, porters is going to be the first style I do with that tournament, and then we'll do Mexican lagers after that. So anyway, we're going to give it a pour here into this Genesee Cream Ale. This is like the de facto Macro Monday glass. As you can see, I'm all decked out in the Jenny here for Macro Monday. Okay, got the hat, got the shirt, got the glass, all Jenny Cream Ale, because that is my go-to macro beer, I would say at this point. It's always been, really, and by always, I mean probably the last like 7 or 8 years. Anyway, yeah, I mean, it looks like your macro lager that has that, you know, golden straw color. Clarity is through the roof. I didn't pour it like super aggressively, but it only has about a half finger of a head. I could have poured it more aggressively to get a better head out of it. Yeah, good carbonation. This has the etching, the nucleation at the bottom, promote the carbonation. But if we're talking about like an actual macro lager of some sort, whether it's, you know, a Mexican lager or American adjunct lager or whatever, I think it plays the role. Let's get a nose. I don't know if this one is brewed with corn or rice, but it definitely gives me that kind of, and I get that sometimes in the Mexican lagers. I also sometimes get that in American adjunct lagers, but like that kind of wet, like corn chip or tortilla chip, something in that realm. It has like a grainy, corny kind of malt sweetness, even though you can't smell sweetness. It definitely smells like it's going to be a bit sweeter. A little bit of like a citrus, like a lemon. There's also a nice like red apple kind of vibe in here, like a red apple core. And a slight, I'll say an ever so slight like floral kind of hop aroma. Very, very minute. It smells like really refreshing. It's not anything amazing. These styles usually aren't. You just kind of drink a bunch of them. But yeah, no off aromas or anything. It smells pleasant. Let's get into it. Cheers, everyone. That's much sweeter than I anticipated. You know, doing these macro Mondays over the past year and a half, you know, a lot of these macro beers, especially the macro lagers, they start to run together. You get different hints from each one. Some have some flaws, some don't. Some are much easier to drink. Some are more dry and a little bit more bitter. Some are sweeter. This definitely leans to the sweeter side of things. Buying this is a little bit bigger than anticipated. I would think something like this light touch over light body. This is like lower side of medium body. At 4.1, that's pretty impressive. Still light enough to be quite refreshing, but has a little bit more body to it, so it's not as watery as some of these can be. So I do like that. And then the mouthfeel is typical for this, crisp, pretty fucking clean, and quite refreshing. Like, it's an easy to drinking beer. It leans sweet for me, and I don't think I could drink a ton of these, which is kind of the purpose of a lot of these macro lagers. Like, you want to be able to session them and drink, you know, pick up a 6-pack or a 12-pack or whatever and drink them over the course of a day, 2 week, whatever. I don't know if I could do that with this. I could drink a couple, but I think the sweetness might build a little bit for me. But the taste is nice right up front. It's not straight corn vibes. Like, again, I said tortilla chips, corn chips. It's not all, I mean, that's there, but it has more of like a grainy, almost slightly kind of bready malt character, maybe even a touch of like caramel. There's a little bit more complexity to the malt character than just straight, corn chips or like a beer that uses rice. Like you get that like, ricey. I shouldn't even say, when I do like Budweiser, I don't really get rice. It just has a generic kind of like grainy malt character, but this has a little bit more complexity for what it is. Tip of the tongue also has like a zippy kind of almost lemony lime kind of feeling to it, which is nice. And then as it passes through, I get that red apple core, maybe a touch of a pear, orchard fruits for sure. And then on the finish, I get this earthy floral kind of finish. Finishes semi-dry, no real bitterness. Again, this one leans a little bit more sweet. I'd say 60-40 sweetness to dryness. And as I keep on taking sips, I do appreciate the complexity to the malt character, even though it's not like overboard. But I wish there was a bit more dryness or maybe even like a firm, mild kind of bitterness on this one to kind of balance it out a little bit more to my palate. It's not the worst Mexican lager I have had reviewing these, but it's certainly not the best for me. 4.1% you can't tell. And online I saw, it says 4.1 here on the label. Online it said 4.5. A couple other places gave me other ones like 4.3. But my bottle is 4.1%. You can't tell. Yeah, so I'm not really like disappointed or happy about this one. Kind of in between where it's just like, listen, if someone handed this one to me and they're like, hey, you want a beer? And they gave it to me, I have no issues drinking a bottle or even two of this, but I don't think this is as sessionable as a lot of other Mexican lagers. So with that said, I can't give it a crazy high score. I can't even give it a really high score. For me, 3.5 or above is like, I would buy it again, or I definitely drink it again. And it's 3.5 to 3.75 is like, I might purchase if I was in the mood. Anything under 3.5 for me is typically I wouldn't rebuy it again. I don't think I'd purposely rebuy specifically this beer. There's nothing wrong with it other than I think that it's a little bit sweet to my palate. There's no off flavors, which is nice. It's just not moving the needle for me. I like that malt complexity, but outside of that, like nothing's really screaming to me. So Carta Blanca from the Cuauhtémoc Moctezuma Brewery. I'm going to give this a high 3.25. I'll go 3.35. I think that's like the best I can do on this one. Again, nothing really wrong with this one. It just doesn't have the flavor profile that I am looking for with a beer like this, and also it just leans a little bit sweet. I just need a little bit more dryness or bitterness or something to break up the monotony of the sweetness, which again, it's not cloying or anything, but I know if I would drink like say a handful of bottles of this, it would be like after two, I'd be like, oh, it's too sweet, right? And that's coming from someone who drinks like, pastry stouts and pastry sours and stuff. And even though I only want like 4 to 6 ounces because the same issue. So, but yeah, it's not bad. It's just not my cup of tea when there's others out there on the market that I can pick up here in the US. Price point availability here in the Buffalo, New York area, that was a $9.99 six-pack. I was able to buy a single. I think the single was like $1.79, so I'm fine with that. But, $10 for a six-pack. Better than some of the imported prices that you get from the Mexican brewery, so not terrible. And if this is your jam, it's not bad to pay for this. And then availability, I have no idea with this beer. And that's where I'm going to stop it. I have no idea. I saw it, like I said, I don't see it a lot, so I picked it up and I was able to grab a single of it, so I was real happy about it. But considering where it comes from, I would assume that this has better distro than I'm thinking it does, but I have no idea. So that was Carta Blanca. What do you guys think about it? Post in the comment section. Let me know your thoughts if you've had this one before. If I were to add this one to the beer, the blind beer style tournament, this would definitely be a lower seed. But when we do that, you guys are going to vote on the seeding and all that stuff. But I think this would be a lower seed for me. Definitely not up there with some of my favorites. And but you do it blind. You take everything, push it to the wayside, and you just review the beer based on the merits of what's in the glass. That's what I try to do. But doing it blind's the best way, and I can't wait to be able to do that with some styles like this. So anyway, I'm going to shut this one down. I appreciate everybody stopping by for another beer review and another Macro Monday. Check back in another 3 to 4 weeks, and I'll have another macro beer. I made my way through the vast majority of the Mexican lagers that I can get a single of. We'll see if I can get any more of them. I might have to just review some random stuff, like some of the light beers. Like I don't think I've reviewed like Miller Lite, Bud Light, Coors Light, so I might have to review some of those at some point, maybe even Jenny Light. There's a lot out there that I still have to review of the big names, so we'll see. If you have any suggestions, post them in the comment section. Appreciate it. To the next one. Cheers.